All right. Well, welcome back to the uncertainty brief. Oh my gosh, number 8 in our sprint. Are we excited, Paula, or are
Yes.
we not excited? What do you
Oh, we
think?
are. We are excited.
We are. So I'm Susan and my co-host Paula. We are here and we have been talking these last 8 sessions on various things related to Q4 strategic planning, getting ready for 2026.
Yeah. I mean, hey, we've spent 7 episodes of this live stream sprint talking about 7 different areas that leaders need to keep in mind for strategic planning. But today, I'm excited because we're going to talk about what it takes to bring all that together. And I'd love to kick us off, Susan, with a question that I know lots of our viewers are going to have. We've all been in those strategic planning sessions. You know the ones. There's stale coffee, stale donut, and everybody's sitting around listening to somebody drone on and going, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. So what is it that makes some planning sessions just spark clarity and action and get everybody charged up, and others, are just stale donuts and stalled momentum?
Yeah, I've been in those meetings as a
I think everybody
participant.
has. Everybody has.
Back in the pharma days, I remember doing all of that stuff. And it's funny. It's a great question because ultimately, when I talk to my clients and we're prepping for a quarterly meeting or we're prepping for an annual meeting, the thing that makes it or breaks it is the pre-work that needs to be done in advance of the actual meeting itself. It's not just, hey, I know who's coming, I know who's attending. Hey, I have an agenda, but an agenda is actually required. Cameron Howard likes to say, no agenda, no attenda, and I love that. That's a great phrase. But thinking through the outcome as we're leaders in the organization,
Mhm.
right? And so those listening to us might be CEOs, they might be department heads, they could be anything. And you've got to start before the meeting happens. Who's going to be there? Who needs what? Uh, think through the desired outcome. If the meeting was successful, what would you want the outcome to be? And what would you want it to look like? How can we make sure that everybody has at their fingertips everything they need so that we don't need stale coffee and donuts 3 days in a boardroom locked away. We can actually do the work that we need to do beforehand, be thoughtful, and then come prepared. And so I know that I take my clients through that sort of planning
Mhm.
before the actual meeting. And every one of them have said, oh my gosh, this meeting would not have gone as well as it did. I would not be prepared in getting the results if
Yep.
we didn't do the work.
And that actually leads to my next question for you. Because as the leader of the organization, right, your job is in many cases to show up prepared. If you don't show up prepared, how can you expect your people to be prepared? And if you're not prepared, how can you give your team the information they need to also be prepared to contribute to that conversation? So, for the leaders that are watching, they've seen all 7, because oh my God, why couldn't you have watched all 7? Right? They've know they've got to look at their tech engine. They know they've got to look at their ops engine. They know they've got to look at their revenue engine. They know they need the big vision and the goals. They know they need to kind of have a plan for their leadership engine. They've figured out customer obsession. And then how do you prepare yourself to come into that room where you come in with questions that are good rather than fill in the blank answers?
Yeah, when we touched on this just briefly in our last episode, and
Yeah.
the point of that conversation was about having the value of peers, other people in the room who are a step removed from the day to day firefighting that we need to do, the day to day issues that every leader in their organization organization is truly involved in, to really be able to work on the business, not in it. And so if you have the value of peers, something that is cognitively different, can look at a problem, an issue, a subject matter slightly differently than how you are, the aha moments that will come from that, the aha moments that will come from good quality questions is incredible. If I can for just a minute, because
Yeah.
I feel like you're wanting to say something there.
No, no, I'm
You know,
listening.
Ray Dalio talks about this a lot in his book Principles. And I love a good read. Now, you may not want 800 pages, but I love a good read. And his whole point is about really looking at whatever issue you're doing, you're experiencing, and finding the different opinions from people who've been there, done that before, ideally, people who have expertise in whatever it is that you're experiencing. So, in other words, they're knowledgeable. And then going and being able to make a framework to say, this is how we're going to make the decisions. But if you come into that strategic planning session and
Yeah.
you've already done your thinking time and you have prepped and prepared and you've made sure that everybody who's going to be there is on the same page with maybe what the issue is or whose opinion has been solicited. Everybody likes to provide opinions, but we want to rank those a little bit more in terms of who has expertise. You can have a better quality discussion at those strategic planning sessions and get further than if you were just asking the question of a cold audience. You have already taken the time to prep and prepare. And you just listed for just a moment, if I can
Yeah.
continue, the goal setting, the look back, the sales, the marketing, the customer journey and obsession, the team, the people, the leadership, AI, automation, delegating, data insights, finance. All of those areas need to come into play for a good quality strategic session.
Yeah. And you raised something that is really critical, I think, for us as leaders to keep in mind. Number one, strategic planning does not have to be a 3 day, everybody down tools for everything. It is not a Blue Jays Dodgers game that's going 18 innings, 19 or however many it takes until somebody scores a winning touchdown. Oh my gosh, a winning bat, right? But I was watching that the other day and I was thinking, my God, this is how so many of us approach strategic planning. No one leaves this room until we have a strategic plan, right? And when the Dodgers finally did hit that last home run, man, you would have thought they won the whole World Series. They were celebrating so hard. And really, they were just celebrating getting to go home and go to bed because they knew they had to be back on that field at 5 o'clock the next afternoon playing the next game. Um, but that's not what strategic planning has to be. It can be, and sometimes it's more effective if you break it into smaller pieces so that you can get to a place and give everyone some room to process and consider that decision and how that impacts the other decisions that follow it. The other thing that came to mind for me as you were talking is, you talked about peers and you talked about expertise. The other piece, I think, is cognitive diversity, is having people whose viewpoints aren't rooted in your industry, rooted in experiences just like yours, because often those diverse voices are where the simple and elegant solutions live. And I remember when my kids were little, so my son would have been, I don't know, like 18 months old at the time. And we had a nanny who came in but when she left, the kids would sometimes come and sit at my desk at the end of the day. My 18-month-old thought that my paper shredding basket was the coolest thing ever on the planet. And he would pull out all the shredded paper while I was trying to finish my day, and it frustrated me. I tried everything to get him to stop. And my 4-year-old daughter, which, she thought like this at 4, will tell you kind of what she's like today, quarter century almost later. She watched me do this for a week. right? I had called my friends, I had called my sisters, like, how do you get a kid to stop this? I called every parenting expert I know. I tried everything. Nothing was working. He loved the shredding basket. And she says to me, she just looks at me one day and she goes, Mom, how about instead of fighting with him, you've got that spare basket right there in the office that's empty and it looks just like the one he likes to play with. Why don't you fill that with his favorite stuffed animals and put it right beside the basket? It's like, tried everything else. So I did. Guess what? He never played with the shredding basket again. Not a parenting expert, a child. So you talk about customer obsession, a child who was like, well, if I had something more fun to play with, I wouldn't play with the shredded paper. So give me something more fun to play with. A very obvious solution. I think when we think about strategic planning, having peers who understand where you're coming from, but come to it from a different set of life experiences, a different industry perspective, different roles, is hugely valuable because they see solutions that you may not even realize are there.
I think there's so much value in that. The assumptions that we walk into a room with
Yeah.
maybe don't need to be the assumptions in order to get a great solution. The
Yeah.
simple questions that somebody who's not as in the know, as we like to call people who are outside of the industry, will have, will spark such an amazing aha moment. And really, isn't that what strategic planning is all about?
Yeah.
Right? When you want to prep things, when you want to make sure that you get the most out of the time with your team. Because I mean, let's face it, a number of owners have said this to me. Man, we get those 10 people around the room. It's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want it to be 3 days, stale
Right.
coffee. Oh my gosh, how much, so let's do the prep work in advance, the thinking time that we need to do to set up the meeting to get the best possible outcome. And I actually, something you had said earlier, I've actually coached a lot of my team to do, my clients to do. Um, they don't have to be 8 hours in a row. That's how we had to do it back in the day when you needed to be in person or you were in the phone in the center of the room, which was always a horrible experience because you couldn't hear anybody. And do a 4 hour session or a 3 hour session, get through one or
Mm-hmm.
two things, give them homework to go away with. But these are the pieces that come out of conversation when you are prepping for the strategic planning session. What
Yeah.
should the format even be? What should the questions be? What data do I need at hand? Right? All of these different pieces, the structure is important as well. And so I know you and I have had these conversations
Yeah.
many times with clients. Do you think we should tell people listening what we're doing?
I do. Absolutely. I think it's a perfect time to tell them, I mean, we're all in a place. It's the end of 2025. It's time for businesses, small and medium businesses in particular, to think big, but also to think straight. So what are we doing to help our clients with that?
Well, I know we've done this before. And when we had done this before, in terms of running a number of sessions for our clients, that, bring them in together,
Hmm.
have them sitting in a room. It was virtual. It's okay. um, there were only 4 sessions.
Yeah.
And what we found was as much as the team loved it, and what I always find amazing when I'm doing events, and I don't know if you find this too, Paula, is that ultimately the test will be whether you get, at session number 1, you get 50 people, and by session number 4, you have 2 people
Yeah.
because they get fatigued and tired and all the
Hmm.
rest of it. We had 100% attendance at all of the 4 sessions, which I thought was great. And the feedback came back that what we had done with those clients prepped them up for working with their team so that they
Yeah.
got optimal resources, optimal planning, and optimal of what they wanted in the end, which was a successful business the next year. So we've decided, Paul and I have decided that we're going to do this in 6 sessions, and we'll make it 6 very specific topics um, to really make sure that everyone has what they need. Solopreneur, team, big company, little company, department head, whatever it is, you're still going to be running the planning sessions. So let's
Yeah.
make sure you know what you need going in.
And why six instead of four? Let's tell everybody why six instead of four.
That was one of the comments, one of the pieces of feedback. There was not enough time. So, for
Yeah.
instance, when you talk marketing, when you talk essentially getting the revenue generation part of your business, that's a big subject. We only had 45 minutes to talk about it and 15 minutes to answer questions, and we were done. It was not enough. So when we're going to have some of these conversations now, we are going to break it into 6 sessions. And one of the things that, of course, has come up again and again in 2025 is AI and
Oh, yeah.
automations. And how do I, even from a data ops perspective, from a data mining, privacy, security, sovereignty, all of these new words are coming
Hmm.
into being. And we need a special session just on that piece alone,
Yeah.
because there's implications for every aspect of the business and how we deal with our clients, our customers, how we help our team to be more effective. It doesn't replace the team, it augments. So
Hmm.
let's get it so we're operationally efficient. And there's lots of things to discuss in that one.
Absolutely. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to share some prompts with people to help them use their AI as a as an analysis partner to help them pull out some data, pull out some insights, and organize their thinking in preparation for, their team strategy sessions. And so giving people some tools and some skills to use AI in a different way than you're probably using it today.
For most people, there's
Yeah.
absolutely some efficiencies and some fun to be had. I like to call it fun. There's some fun
Look,
doing
I'm a strategic planning geek. If I could spend my whole year just going into companies and working with them on strategic planning, I would probably almost do it for free. If Safeway would allow me to buy groceries for free, I would do strategic planning for free because I just absolutely love getting my fingers in that pot and finding solutions. Just love it. Let's tell people how they can find out more about the sprint. Let's tell them what it's going to cost and what the process is and all those juicy details just in case they're thinking about joining us, because we would love it if you guys would join us for this sprint.
Well, I think it's easiest if we put a link in the description. I think it would be easiest if we simply
Yeah.
had something down below that, maybe it might have to be post live. I don't know the technology of all this and
Mhm.
how it works. This is our brand new way of getting out and reaching you. Um, but I think that's the easiest way. And so when you click on that link, we've tried to de-risk it as much as we
Yeah.
possibly can to keep with our theme of uncertainty in 2025. How can we de-risk this? So we said, look, come out, let's do the first session, let's make it $47. Let's then make sure that you're happy, right?
Yeah.
Customer obsession. It is exactly what we're talking about. So that's what we've done.
Yeah. First session, $47. And we'll get to know each other. And if it works for you, great. Sign up. It's just one fee for the rest of the sessions. And if it's not, you'll walk away at least with an outline for how you need to prepare for by yourself. So you're going to get some value out of. You're going to get some huge value out of that first session. And if you like being in a room with other smart leaders and owners and having people bounce ideas around, stick around. If it's not your jam, totally cool. You're not obligated. So do check the link in the description. And Susan, what about us? Like what about dates and times? Do we want to share those?
Well, I think we'll just say that the first one was planned for early November. I think I did not have this open
Ah,
on my screen, so I think it was the fifth.
yeah.
Ah,
We need more coffee this morning, guys.
clearly, clearly. Yeah, I think it was about the fifth. It was a Wednesday, and Eastern Standard Time it is in the afternoon. Pacific Standard Time it is in the morning, so that we tried to make sure it was still in regular business hours, so you can get things done, come in for the time period, join us, have time to process the information we're going to give you, have time to ask us questions, and make sure that you get the most out of the session. First one or all of them, they're going to have the same piece. And I think, we only talked about this for maybe the last one, but I think that, Paula, we should do hot seats on everyone.
Oh yeah, I think so. I love that. I love that. I get so much out of a hot seat when I'm with my because I do this. I mean, I do this for myself. I go into retreat with a group of other really smart people who challenge my thinking, and we do hot seats. And they are, what I get from being in the hot seat is amazing. What I get from helping other people in the hot seat has unlocked so much in my business. It's unbelievable. So awesome, awesome stuff. And, for those of you that are watching, I thank you for joining us for this. It's been an amazing 8-day experience. So it's been great having you here, and the feedback that we've got from you offline has been amazing. So thank you for joining us. And I hope you will join us for the planning sprint for the next 6 weeks so that you hit Christmas break and you know exactly what you're doing come January 1.
Because who doesn't want to take Christmas break as the aha moment that you go, I get to spend the time with my family. Thank you very much because I've already done the work. I was prepped, ready, prepared, and I'm going to hop in Jan 2. I'm ready to rock it with my team.
There you go. There you go. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend, and go Blue Jays. Did I say that? Go! I'm cheering for the Blue Jays. Go Blue Jays.
Thank